All right, everybody, let's get back to our house calls, our second house call of the weekend. If you didn't tune in yesterday, all shows, all podcasts are always at stephencabral.com/podcasts. While you're over there, if you haven't already picked up your copy of The Rain Barrel Effect, now is the time to do it, especially as we start the new year. You want a plan that's built just for you. Really, the theme of 2025 and going forward is all about personalized health and wellness, nutrition, stress reduction, sleep, all of those things. And you'll be able to find out exactly how to do that in the Rain Barrel Effect. So again, head on over to stephencabral.com/podcasts for today's show. And then while you're over there, pick up your free copy for yourself or a loved one of the Rain Barrel Effect. All right, today we're going to be going over 5 more questions from the community. Again, if you're new to the show, every weekend we answer about 5 questions on Saturday and 5 questions on Sunday. This weekend will be no different. So first question today is from Stephanie. And Stephanie writes in, hyperhidrosis issues here. I've always had sweat profusely pouring from my hands and feet, even as a child. I'm healthy, very in tune with my body, a professional body worker myself, and lots of nervous system regulation as well. It's worse when I'm very focused, not necessarily nervous. Any ideas on why or how to help resolve this issue? Yeah, absolutely. And if you type in excessive sweating or hyperhidrosis at stephencabral.com/podcast, you will see a plethora of podcasts on this exact issue. My highest recommendation is to run the Big 5 labs. If you've never run at-home functional medicine lab testing, you will look at your deficiencies and toxicities. Remember, I want you to understand this is that every health issue can be fixed. As I've said before, you want to catch the really difficult ones early, like cancer. That is the truth, because I understand that cancer isn't easy to reverse. So I'm not saying that. Once you get to stage 3, stage 4, there's so much that you can do, and that's at stephencabral.com/cancer. But keep in mind, for autoimmune issues, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular, I mentioned autoimmune, but like all the different types of autoimmune, these things are all fixable. They really are. But you have to know what your deficiencies are, whether it's B vitamins or omega-3s or certain amino acids, etc. You can find out what those are. And then you have to know your toxicities. What's causing inflammation? So we need to find out, Stephanie, what yours are. Now, the Big 5 is the absolute best place to get started. But if I could only choose one lab out of those 5 labs for you, it would be the stress mood and metabolism test. Well, this could be an electrolyte issue as well between sodium, potassium, or magnesium, calcium, magnesium as well. So keep in mind, these things are like without a doubt very fixable, but you have to know what the deficiencies are, right? I could just say, sure, take our sleep help protocol, which will help with the balancing the diphasic rhythm of the body. So basically turning off that nervous system at night. So improving your magnesium levels, calming your cortisol levels, improving your sleep, like all those things. But I would love for you to test. So all of the tests are at stephencabral.com/shop. That takes you over to Equalife. And if you think that I'm saying, oh, well, just, buy a lab test from us, feel free to complete them with an IHP level 2 or soon to be IHP level 3s over at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. We have no affiliation with any of their companies. So whatever works best for you, that is ultimately how we're going to fix this, by re-regulating whatever those imbalances are, particularly cortisol and or an imbalance with one of the electrolytes with magnesium as well, that turns off sympathetic nervous system dominance and helps more parasympathetic, because like you said, it's worse when you're very focused, when you're more sympathetic nervous system dominant. All right. Lynn is up next, and we've helped so many people, Stephanie, with this. So, all right, Lynn's up next. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, and I've been trying to find a good decaf matcha green tea, or another type if that one isn't available. I noticed you had a recommendation for regular matcha in your resources page, but you don't have any recommendations for a caffeine-free organic ceremonial grade matcha. Oh, that's a great question, Lynn. Yeah, I don't actually have a recommendation for decaf matcha green tea. Let me give you the reasoning why, but it's a fair question. It is. So regular coffee, like let's say you go with the Equalife high antioxidant, high polyphenol, mold-free coffee. That's going to have somewhere around 170 so milligrams per, like, let's call it 12-ounce cup, like an average coffee. Not a low grade one like a Dunkin' Donuts. Again, no offense to my Boston native company, Dunkin' Donuts, but that's a little bit more watery. That's like 140 milligrams, or Starbucks, which is 270 for a small. Like, that's a lot of caffeine as well. So ours comes in kind of right at that. I think what we call perfect strength. So not too much, not too little, and you find what's right for you. Okay. Now, still, for some people, it's a little too much, right? So you could use less grounds of the coffee, or you go for a matcha. And a matcha is going to be around 40 to 45 milligrams of caffeine. So it's only about a third to 25%. Of a coffee, depending on where you get that coffee from. So, and it also contains L-theanine. So it's really like, it's not a big spike, and it's a much lower gradual decline. So many people who can't do caffeine from coffee could do matcha green tea. So if you haven't tried it before, well, you may want to try it. And if it doesn't work for you, then that's okay too. Or we could look at decaf varieties. Now, matcha green tea has very unique properties. Some of those are slightly hindered when you decaffeinate it, but it's okay if you do. You just need to find a good decaf process. I've actually never looked into decaffeinated matcha, but you asked it, and I'm going to go find it. So in an upcoming Friday review, if I can find one, and it has to be reputable, and it has to use no solvents to decaffeinate it, like the decaf coffee over at Equilife doesn't use any solvents. It uses water. So it uses a Swiss water process, no ethanol or gasoline type derivatives that are going to help to decaffeinate that. All right. So what if you didn't do matcha? Well, you might look into something like white tea, which can have a lot of high antioxidant properties, but not have caffeine. All right, so different things to look at. Great question, though, and I'm going to look into this for you, Lynn. All right, Laura's up next. Laura says, hi, Dr. C. Hope you're well. Same to you, Laura. I'm wondering about, I'm going to just take out the company's name because I don't want to speak negatively about them, because I see exactly what you're writing directly after that. So I'm wondering about Ionic foot bath therapy that uses negative ions to get rid of toxins from the body. It comes with a chart that tells you where your toxins are coming from by the color of the water. Do you think it actually works? It seems like it would be great too. If it did what it says it does, but you are my go-to person to ask these things, thank you, and happy healing to everyone. Yes, happy healing to everyone for sure. I have some bad news. Well, let me give you the good news first. Ionic foot baths do produce negative ions. That's a good thing. That helps to then relax the central nervous system, and it helps to squelch free radicals. So we like that, right? That's a good thing. It's not the same as, but it's akin to going out on the morning grass, a little bit of dew on that grass, and earthing, grounding. You get those negative ions. This is a real thing. And I've actually tested it before, and you can test it yourself with what's called live blood microscopy and something called red blood cell rouleau, or agglutination, where the red blood cells stick together. Well, if you're exposed to more negative ions, believe it or not, you get those red blood cells to disperse. All right. So ionic foot baths can produce negative ions, which help the body in terms of free radicals. But it does pretty much stop there. Now, it's relaxing, so great for the nervous system, can help calm cortisol levels, but it does not provide the detoxifying effect that they claim that they do. And I wish they wouldn't do it, because it gives a bad name to our industry and other healthy biohacking-based devices. So here's the issue, that they've done multiple studies on this. They did a big one in 2012. And I read about this study back then, and that's why I haven't been recommending it since. And there is no discernible effect on the body in terms of detoxification. Even worse, that they're saying the water turns color based on where the toxin's coming from. That is a wild claim to make with absolutely no research behind it. I am always willing to be proven wrong. And by the way, it's not me. I am a messenger for the research and for the 500,000 labs of data that I have and the 250,000 plus people we've seen in our practice. So some of it is from my practice, and a lot of it is from research as well. If it worked to a greater degree for detoxification, I'd be all about it, but it doesn't. And so instead, what I'd recommend is things like sauna, or in general, sweating. What else? Even the rays from the sun, as long as you don't get a sunburn, can be very helpful. A functional medicine detox will do way more. A coffee enema can be helpful. So like all of these things can be very, very helpful. Even some castor oil over the liver can mobilize. Again, these things aren't pulling them out to a degree. Some can, but to a degree. But really what you're trying to do is your body removes the most amount of toxins through your stool. So basically from the liver to the intestines, from your kidneys through your urine, or from your sweat as well, and a little bit through expiration, through breathing out. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, don't want to throw any, shade to any companies, but you have to be careful with your claims. I mean, claiming that the water color changes based on where the toxins are coming from, that's some great marketing, but unfortunately, not a whole lot of truth to that. All right, Milan is up next. Dr. Cabral, I'm an IHP and I've run the OAT test, the mycotoxins test, and the gut microbiome for my client. There was small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and small intestinal fungal overgrowth, but no leaky gut and no elevated mold markers. While we have worked on dysbiosis, gut symptoms are all gone. Good. There is one remaining symptom left: fungal patches in the groin and armpit area. Isn't it strange that there's no elevated levels of mold, neither at OAT nor mycotoxin test? Can it really be only local on the skin and not systemic? In such case, am I thinking right that the local application of citricidal with coconut oil, colloidal silver, and tea tree should heal skin fungal infection? What could be the cause? Okay, yeah, so let's take a step back. Again, we can't provide any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis, but love the work that you're doing, Milan. I mean, that's what an IHP should be all about. You're talking about the big three. Actually, you did the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, the mold toxicity test, and the stool test. Great. So that's really great. And then maybe you did something like the CBO protocol, and now there's no more gut issues. Great. So now we're looking at some skin patches locally in the armpit and the groin. Again, we can't diagnose them, but if you say armpit and groin, yes, because, well, I can't say yes, but could be fungal based. Why? Because that's exactly where fungus would grow, in warm, dark, sweaty places, basically, right? That's what it can be. And so that's where it can grow. And yes, it can be local. So I wouldn't do all four of those necessarily at once. It's not bad, but you can use what we've used many, many times in the past. And that would actually be some apple cider vinegar after you get out of the bath, or you can do it before. I know there's a little scent to it, but it's a great skin tonifier. So we do that. And then after that, you apply, usually coconut oil is a good one. So a very small amount, and then a couple drops of tea tree oil. You don't need to use the citricidal, but you can use one or the other. That's what I recommend. And then, because one may not work. And so after 2 weeks or so, if you don't start to see it clearing up by then, you might switch to the other one. And you would typically do that twice per day in the AM and PM. And then you really want to you want to keep the area dry as possible. So because fungus loves that sweaty, moist environment. And so we want to try to cut down on that. All right. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, you sound like you're doing a great job. Terry is up next. Hi, Doc. I've been listening to you for years and I love your podcast. Thanks, Terry. Here's a question I haven't heard. About a year ago, my blood work showed a high TSH, and thankfully my PCP was on board with me trying an elimination diet and allowing me to test once a month. I immediately eliminated gluten, dairy, and soy, and within a month, my TSH fell into a normal, although not ideal range. When my TSH was high, I noticed a small bump at the base of my big toe. It disappeared almost completely when my TSH dropped and reappeared when I tried reintroducing dairy and soy into my diet. My TSH also went back up at the same time. Could the bump on my toe be related to the thyroid, or is it just a coincidence? It seems to appear and disappear with variations in TSH. Thanks, and keep up the amazing work. I love this. This is a great question. Because I love the correlation that you made. This is great. Okay, so let me go through this with you. So your TSH was high. For those people who don't know, TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. The higher the TSH, the lower the functioning of the thyroid. I know it sounds strange, it's a paradox, but basically what's happening is you're producing more thyroid stimulating hormone, not the hormone itself, right? So your body is telling your brain, hey, we need more TSH, or vice versa. It's the hypothalamus telling to the pituitary gland to produce more thyroid because it's getting a feedback loop saying we don't have enough. Okay, so then the thyroid's job is then to use iodine and other molecules as well, like tyrosine, to be able to create thyroid hormone. And then when thyroid hormone is being produced normally, then TSH starts to drop because it gets a feedback loop that, hey, we have enough thyroid, right? Okay, so you eliminated gluten, dairy, and soy, and then your TSH started to fall. Great. Not ideal yet because there's so much more to it than just the food sensitivities, but then the bump on your toe actually started to decrease. And then when you started to reintroduce dairy and soy, your TSH went up and the bump came back. All right. So again, I can't give you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis, but I'm willing to bet the bump on your toe has nothing to do with your thyroid, but everything to do with the sensitivity to dairy and or soy. Because there are so many people in our practice when they take out gluten, dairy, eggs, and soy, sometimes a few other things, but those are the main things. If they've never done a food sensitivity test, I recommend a food sensitivity test, but if you've never done one, then you can at least eliminate those for a period of 3 to 4 weeks. And their eczema, some of their psoriasis, because psoriasis is also autoimmune based, and a lot of other issues can clear up. And I've seen so many people with a form of dermatitis or hives or a rash clear up with the same thing. Now, keep in mind, when you have those things, it means you also have inflammation in your body. And for you, everybody has an Achilles heel. Yours might be thyroid. So my highest recommendation is that you actually learn how to heal the thyroid. And so I have a course on this that is 4 hours long. I know it seems like a lot, but it's the equivalent to reading more than a dozen books and talking with thyroid experts on this topic. So if you want, head on over to stevencabral.com/courses. Click on the thyroid one. That's my highest recommendation. And then along with it, you can run the lab so you can actually see, are you deficient in T4 and T3? Because if you are, your body may just need more of that raw material along with healing the gut. So if you can, take the thyroid course. If you really can, run the Big 5. See what else is going on with your body. Use this as a time to fully heal your body. Find out your deficiencies, find out your toxicities, make this your best year yet. You can do that by simply heading on over to stevencabral.com/labs. That's all the labs, or just stevencabral.com/shop. That takes you over to Equilife. That's our entire functional medicine practice. You can run the Big 5 there. Just literally, just literally type in Big 5 and you'll be able to find those. So that's everything. Or of course, if you don't want to work with us, totally fine. I'm good with that. My only goal is to teach. And so if you want to work with a qualified integrative health practitioner, level 2, head on over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org. And that is it. So it's been a great weekend of questions. I really do appreciate this community. You are all amazing. And I will be back tomorrow with a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. Don't miss it. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.